Howdy y'all, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about 5 reasons you should be getting the Humminbird Helix and 3 reasons maybe you should consider something else. So we're gonna come sit down and we're gonna start talking about this Humminbird Helix. So we're not gonna mess around here, we're gonna jump right into this. We're gonna start off with the 5 reasons you should consider getting a Humminbird Helix. And the first one is that even though the Helix is their base model, their lowest model tier of fish finders, you can get all the premium features that you can with a Solix or a Apex. Not all of them, but a vast majority of them. You're not going to have the disability not to run Mega Live imaging or Mega 360 imaging or Mega SI Plus or Mega DI Plus. You're going to be able to control your trolling motor. You're going to be able to use all the same mapping systems. You're not going to be missing out on their big brand features. You will be missing some features, but for the vast majority of the big brand features, you're not going to be missing out on the Humminbird Helix. The second reason I think you should consider getting a Humminbird Helix is how customizable the units are. And what I mean by that is you can go from a 5-inch model all the way up to 15-inch model. You have lots of different options in sizes. You also have a lot of options as far as features go. You can get a basic sonar and GPS unit, or you can add the Mega DI, or you can have a Mega DI Plus, which is the upper model of the Mega DI. You get a little more frequencies, a little more higher detail. You can just get ones with the Mega SI. You can get ones without networking. You get some with networking. So whatever your need is for the Humminbird Helix, you can find a model that represents your need and you're not paying for features that you don't need. So the third reason here is the networking capability that comes with a Humminbird Helix. You can communicate from Helix to Helix, Helix to Solix, Helix to Apex. And one of my favorite things to communicate is waypoints. You're at the console, you're scanning over some structure, some cover of some kind underneath you. You're going over a point. You find a few interesting places on a lake that maybe you don't know as well, or maybe it's a lake, your lake, home lake, and you just found something new. You make a waypoint, it's automatically shared with your bow unit. And then you can jump up on the trolling motor and find that particular spot so easy because it automatically transferred that particular spot exactly to the point. And then you're fishing that point in a matter of minutes without having to hunt with your front unit, try to find the exact same spot. Or even worse, you get the coordinates off the front unit and you write it down and then you try to put it in. All that stuff's for the birds. Just automatically transfer it now. And while I was speaking about trolling motors, we can also communicate with our trolling motors. If you have the right kind of trolling motor, you have to have the iPilot link. So you can do all sorts of things with your Ultrex and your Ulterra. You can create tracks, you can backtrack a trail that you just went down. So maybe you didn't fish a bank very thoroughly and you just hit backtrack, boom, it'll go right on back. It's a pretty cool feature to be able to control your trolling motor with your fish finder, like following contours. There's a lot of neat features that you can do. So I definitely recommend looking into that before you buy a unit and a trolling motor that are compatible for that and see if you're going to use it, because it does cost some money, but I do see it as a really nice feature. Oh, and lastly, on the networking piece, kind of Bluetooth wise, you can now also communicate with your Talons or your Raptors. If your foot controls aren't working or your remote's not working that day for whatever reason, you can still put down the Talons or the Raptors from your Humminbird unit. Hey guys, I want to take a quick moment here and ask you guys, if you haven't subscribed already, smash that subscribe button. It'll help my channel out a lot. We do all sorts of fishing content on this channel, from how-tos to giveaways to reasons why you should buy a fish finder and reasons you shouldn't, product reviews, all sorts of fishing related stuff. So make sure you smash that subscribe button, and I know you will find something on this channel that you'll enjoy. So the fourth reason here is the mapping system. Now, I don't mean directly how it functions on the Humminbird unit, the Helix unit. This is more of a Humminbird thing in general. I'm talking about their LakeMaster map, their LakeMaster Plus map, their Smart Strike map, their Auto Chart Live maps. All those map systems are fantastic, and I'll talk a little bit about each one here in a second. But overall, Humminbird goes out and they make their own maps, and if they don't get to your small lake, they give you even an option to map your own. Let's break down the maps real quick. Their Lake Master map is really their bread and butter map. It's the map that they go out and they create either standard definition or high definition maps and contours of lakes. They have a whole list of which ones they support. You can buy it by regions, all sorts of ways you can buy them. You can even buy them in the app that they have. You can buy them there and only get the lakes that you really need. Lake Master Plus does pretty cool overlays with satellite images to allow you to maybe to identify certain areas on the lake a little better. So if you're looking for a particular type of tree or a point that you're trying to fish, you can spot it on the map, but you're having a hard time finding the location actually on the lake. Kind of helps there. So the next map is the Smart Strike map. I found this is a pretty unique mapping system because it's really more of a search feature where you can search on the lake for particular areas that fish might be. They have a particular search feature where you can put in the type of fish you're fishing for, the time of year, the water temp, the outdoor conditions, whether it's sunny or cloudy, and it'll give you areas that you could try to fish. Or if you're more like me, and if you're starting on a new lake and you're like, hey, I want to fish some ledges today, I want to try some ledges and scan over ledges. Well, you can actually search by lake feature and search for ledges that are in certain depths of range and that kind of thing. So I find it pretty impressive that you can just search a lake for features and then, hey, they'll highlight on the lake for you and you can scan over them, see if there's fish there. And if there's not any fish there, you can move on to the next one. If you see a few, boom, you drop down your drop shot or your deep crank or whatever you're fishing off that ledge. And you can go snag a few fat sallies real quick. I really do like the idea of the Smart Strike feature. So the last map system I'm going to talk about is the AutoChart Live map. If Humminbird hasn't got to your lake or your body of water is too small for them to actually get to, it gives you an option to go out and map your own lake to the high definition that Humminbird would provide. And then you don't have to do your whole lake. You can just do the areas that you're most interested in. So if your lake just isn't supported or they haven't got to it yet, you can just hit the major highlights. And if you have a smaller pond, you can map the entire thing if you would like and know all the features that are in that little pond. So the fifth reason here is that the Humminbird Helix unit is easy to maintain. You can do all your updates on the Humminbird app, super easy to do, and maintaining your map systems is also easy as well. You can back up your waypoints to the app as well. If you need to buy an extra map that's outside of your normal region, say you're going to go to a different lake that's outside your normal area, you can actually buy the map on the app and transfer it. The other part of maintenance that I like is that the screen is flat. That flat screen makes it super easy to clean. You don't have any odd corners for dust and grime to get hung in, and it's really hard to clean. So since the screen's flat, you can easily wipe it off with some Windex and get it perfectly clean every time. Now let's talk about the 3 reasons maybe you shouldn't be considering the Humminbird Helix. The first one is the Mega Live imaging. At the point of me making this video, it's not really officially out. I've seen lots of videos on it, but really cannot really even find one to buy. Maybe some people can. I haven't been able to find one. But that's not my point. The videos that I have seen on it are not really as impressive as that of LiveScope or Active Target. It still probably does a pretty good job of being able to see fish react, but they're more of just blobs than they are fish details. Which I have seen some fish details in LiveScope that I own, but I don't feel like it is as impressive or as far as long as LiveScope or Active Target is. The next reason here is it doesn't have a touch screen, and its menu system from that reason gets a little cumbersome. Having to change views, if you have 5 different views, and what I mean by views is say you have side imaging, then you have down imaging, then you have sonar with down imaging, then you have your map. you have to scroll through each one of those to get to the next one, just by pressing the view button. It's really hard to skip. I don't know of a way to skip from one all the way to the other where you could on a touch screen. Just have a simple menu system where you press 2 buttons and then you're there. Now you can make some shortcuts, but you don't have shortcuts for everything. There's only 3 or 4 shortcut buttons on the Humminbird Helix, but that doesn't knock out the fact that it's not a touch screen and it takes a little longer to move through the menu system. I wouldn't call it a showstopper, but it's something to consider. The third reason here is overall the unit is actually considerably bulky. Even if you did a flush mount on your console, it's still going to stick up about 1 inch to 1.5 inches, depending on how they're making the G4 ends now. But the G3 ends, or the G3s, they're considerably bulky for the way they mounted flush to a unit. So they're not as clean looking as a Solix or an Apex in that fact, but they still can flush mount, and overall they're just kind of large units in general. They have a lot of depth to them. I don't know if you consider that a reason not to buy one, but if you do have a tight space or a small area to work with, maybe the Helix isn't for you. Alright guys, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, smash that like button. It'll help this video out to get to more people, to help more people out in making decisions about fish finders. So make sure you do that. And if you have any more questions about the Humminbird Helix, be sure to drop them in the comments below. I'll gladly help you guys out. But you guys remember, just like always, until next time, get out there and go catch you some fish.